before.
You're going to sleep.
Andrew McCART, IFL TV, in association with MTK Global. I'm here in sunny Motherwell, is it?
Bells Hill, this would probably qualify.
Bells Hill in Scotland. With me I've got none other than the associate editor of the Ring magazine, Tom Gray.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, good seeing you again, Tom. Haven't
You
seen
too.
you since last week with Taylor, Baranchik and Ruiz Rodriguez, so let's go back to last week.
Yep.
The Ring magazine belt was on the line. This belt, well, probably not this belt here, but something that looks similar to that.
That was the one that was given to him in the ring anyway.
Oh, was it? Well, there
Yeah.
you go. Let's go back to that fight then, Ruiz Rodriguez. After that fight, everyone is singing Ruiz's praises. Are you on that bandwagon? Are you the same?
He's my favourite fighter at the moment. Just seeing him up close, live, doing his thing, I thought he was absolutely spectacular. I had the feeling after the first round that the fight was going to go some distance. Rodriguez looked really up for it, went on the offensive. I think the game plan was probably, if you back away from Inoue, you give him momentum. So I think Rodriguez's idea was to meet fire with fire, thinking he's a naturally bigger man and he'd be able to hold him off, but it didn't work, and that first left hook essentially that dropped him, the fight was over.
It was the body shot as well, the second knockdown just seemed sickening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He didn't want to come up after that.
He didn't. He was actually shook his head to the corner. He was like, no more. I think it was like a no mass situation for himself.
Yeah. Brave man, because he did get up. So.
Well, Donaire's next for him. Your thoughts on that? Is the Ring magazine's up for it? The belt is up for it as well?
Yeah. Inoue will enter as champion. I'm a huge fan of Nonito Donaire, but the fight is just coming around at the wrong time for him. I think he's 36 years old, and despite everything that he's done, he's a Hall of Famer in my eyes. I'm a bit fearful because despite the fact that both guys got on really well, Inoue's not the type to show him any mercy. So I think that it will end by knockout in the first half.
As two jocks, we watched Josh Taylor become, I think it might have been Scotland's 11th or 12th world champion on last Saturday. You were put on the spot at the post-fight press conference. So you were put on the spot by one of the reporters there. They basically said, Tom, is the Ring magazine belt up for line where progress against Taylor?
Yep.
And your feature was?
Well, yes, it is. I mean, I didn't want to say it, or I didn't want to say it at the press conference because I would rather Doug Fisher was the guy that announced it or said something in social media. But put on the spot, it's number one versus number two. Taylor and Prograis were number one. Prograis and Taylor in that order were number 1 and 2 coming into the tournament. So the fact that the final was coming around, it was almost like it was a no-brainer that it was going to be. But I was put in the spot, and yes, I answered in the affirmative. So it'll be Josh has got the chance to become. What did we work out? The last Scottish Ring magazine champion was Jim Watt.
Yep.
He was upgraded though in 1980. Jim Watt was a fantastic world champion. He was upgraded to Ring magazine champion. The last Scotsman to win it in the ring was Ken Buchanan, who's from
Edinburgh.
There you go.
Where am I from?
Yeah, Edinburgh. Where's Josh Taylor from?
Edinburgh.
Yeah. So it's a fantastic piece of history. That was 1970 that Ken Buchanan would have won that. In terms of America, Regis Prograis, the last two holders of the Ring magazine junior welterweight title are both American, Danny Garcia and Terence Crawford. So they've had a lot more success than the Scots have.
So it's almost 50 years since. Jim Watt, like you said, he was upgraded, but
yeah.
I think
to actually win it in the ring.
To win it in the ring, it's been 50 years since
almost,
the Scotsman has done
50
it.
years next year. I'll get my mathematics right this time.
Yeah.
But yeah, almost 50 years since a Scotsman has won it in the ring. So Buchanan beat Laguna, and Josh has got the opportunity to emulate, an idol of his. In essence, fair enough, it's a way up, but it's still something very special.
Again, it's if Josh doesn't need any more incentive, like his dream was always to be a world champion, but that goal's, he's done it now.
Yeah.
And he's obviously going to give himself a new goal, and to become Scotland's first since 50 years to win the Ring magazine belt in the ring, it's going to be something special for Josh, isn't it?
Absolutely. I met him the next morning after the fight, so he was sitting, he looked a bit delicate after what he'd been through. He was sitting with his partner, and I come up and I had the bag with the belt in it, and I showed him it, and his eyes kind of widened. So he's aware of it. Like, there's so much. He gets another world title if he beats Prograis. It's WBA. He gets the Ring Magazine Championship. He gets the Ali Trophy, and he'd probably
Unified
be drifting.
Yeah,
he'd be drifting towards pound for pound contention. But he's got a tough test against Regis Prograis. Let's make no mistake about it. It's not a gimme by any stretch of the imagination. I know that we're Scottish, and that's the angle we're coming in from. But
that's what I was going to ask. Was get your point of view in the fight. I mean, it was when this tournament was mentioned, when the 8 people came in, Terry Flanagan and all them guys, Relic and all that. Everyone's favourite for the final was Josh and Regis Prograis. So I think everyone had an opinion of what that final was going to be like and who would win. Everyone was already making, Josh Taylor's going to beat Regis is going to beat Taylor. So I don't want you to give me, because it's probably a biased opinion on who you think is going to win. I just want you to think, just tell me about the fight itself. What kind of fight you expected between two southpaws?
Well, I think, and I mentioned this to both of them, and both of them kind of agreed that there could be periods where they could cancel each other out. The skill sets are so terrific that there could be moments like, long periods in the fight where there's not a lot happening, and they're jockeying for position, a lot of feints, trying to draw leads and things that can take some time. I don't think it's a quick fight, and I also think that it's more likely to go the distance, which is why the location, I think, is very, very important where the fight's held. I was after the fight last Saturday, I had the opportunity. I went down to a casino to watch the Wilder Brazil fight with Prograis and his team. So I said, "What do you think the final's going to be?" I'm just trying to get some info, and he said, "Oh, we're looking at neutral ground. We're thinking New York." And I'm like, "Wait a minute." I said, "You're American." I said, "That's no neutral ground." And but there'd be a massive Scottish contingent. And I said, "Okay then." But I mean, if I was like Team Taylor, I'd be angling for somewhere kind of in the UK. If I'm Team Prograis, then you're angling for somewhere over there. But I asked Nisse Sauerland, and he said wherever the fight makes the most economical sense. So it's difficult to say where it's going to head, but we'll see.
I think I read somewhere, or someone told me, that the World Boxing Super Series needs a US final at some point, and I think with being an American fighter in the final with Regis, they might go for. Don't quote me on this, because I might be reading this wrong, or somebody's told me a lie, or whatever.
We're quoting it to everybody.
Well, there you go. I'll just cut this out. But I think that's what's going to happen. It's going to be an American final somewhere, like even if it's in New York, then. But again, that just means you can't go, can you? No,
we've got some terrific writers out in the New York area. I wouldn't even ask. I mean, I need to consider myself lucky that I've seen what I've seen so far. I got Hanoi. I've had 2 of Josh's fights. If it went to New York,
Arabia with Groves and Smith.
Yeah, I've had a good run, so I've got no qualms. It's a good excuse for me to get together with the lads and get a couple of beers, if that's the case. But obviously, I would hope. I don't think Glasgow's going to happen. No. I think Prograis would just flat decline that. London, I think, might be possible. I heard.
Do you think that maybe the O2 Arena or something like that in London, maybe?
Yeah, it's a huge fight, and you're going to get. Josh is going to bring a lot of fans with him. Prograis would he's a popular fighter in New Orleans and surrounding areas, so he could bring a large contingent. It's just a brilliant show. So I think it would do well in London.
What about Nui then, Donea? If that was in Japan, would you put your hat in the ring for that? Doug
Fisher, if you're watching this, don't laugh. I would ask and probably get slapped right back down again. I would love to go to a place like Japan to see Hanoi, in his hometown. In effect, would be.
So would I, to be honest. So would I.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't put ideas in my head.
Okay, well, we've covered Josh Taylor and anyway last week with the Ring Magazine and the Ring Magazine belt being on the line for Prograis against Taylor, which is hopefully in September, October time. But the Ring Magazine belt was on the line again next week out in New York at Madison Square Garden. Katie Taylor versus
Delphine Persoon.
There you go. I'm glad you said it, because I would have got that way wrong.
This is the inaugural female Ring Magazine lightweight championship. So Claressa Shields has already beaten Katie to the punch, in effect, by beating Christina Hamer recently for the middleweight championship. That was the first female divisional title to be given out, and obviously Cecilia Breakhouse, the first lady, is the pound for pound Ring Magazine champion at the minute. But Katie has an opportunity to become the first female lightweight Ring Magazine championship. She's super excited. And I spoke to her very recently for the most recent magazine, and she'd already be over the moon with what was up for grabs. But when she found out the Ring Magazine title was at stake, she was ecstatic.
You think she can do it?
I know she can. Yeah, I think that she's, Delphine Pursoon, I think she's 43-1, but most of her fights have been at home over in Europe, and I just think she comes forward, she throws tons of punches, but she's a bit open, and forgive the pun, but I think she's tailor-made.
No, I'm not forgiving that pun, that was quite funny.
Yeah, I think she does it, absolutely I do.
Well, I just want to stay on women's boxing at the moment, because I was down in Manchester a couple of days ago speaking to Savannah Marshall as well, who's obviously earmarked or penciled.
She won last night?
Yeah, she won last night, first round stoppage. But I want to stay on Katie Taylor, because although the women's boxing has taken off and it's becoming more exciting with girls like Katie Taylor, Clarissa Shields, Savannah Marshall, but Chantel Cameron is doing her thing as well.
Yeah,
she's on and then she's in a final eliminator 21st of June, I believe, for Katie Taylor.
Okay.
And I'm just thinking, Chantel Cameron and Katie Taylor, what a fight that would be, because they're two very outstanding fighters.
Absolutely. I mean, if Katie comes through this, she kicks open the door to real superstardom in the female game, and when I was speaking to her, actually, she's got an eye on Cecilia Brackhouse by moving up to welterweight. And the way she put it would be a battle of two ring champions. Well, Cecilia Brackhouse obviously has the pound for pound championship. We look at all the hardware there. She'd be battling for pound contention, pound for pound number one. So I think that's probably the direction.
Belt?
What's that?
Is that the pound for pound for number one? Or? You
get a pound for pound one for male, and a pound for pound one was introduced for female. So I mean, it's obviously rarer that one is going to be given out, because whoever's pound for pound champion should have that.
Who's pound for pound? Who's got the pound for pound for the men then?
Lomachenko.
Lomachenko, has he?
Although Canelo was given a belt when he beat Golovkin as well. So but the pound for pound king right now is Vasyl Lomachenko.
I don't think many people argue with that. I mean, some people are probably going to say Nui now.
Yeah, I mean, I got the argument. There was when it went to panel. I can't remember who it was that asked that basically suggested him as number one, and it crossed my mind. But a couple of the guys above him, Canelo is above him. He's got a better resume at the moment than Inoue. Terence Crawford and Lomachenko maybe just pip him, but there's not a lot in it. So he's heading in that direction. If he beats Nonito Donaire, does he go number one? I don't know. That would go out to the panel as well, but he's just phenomenal. It's just the way he goes about his business. That was it was a very good world champion that he beat last week. And he made him look like nothing.
He just does, for me, looking at him, he just does the basics to perfection. The 1-2 hook, 1-2. That's it. Like Lomachenko and Terence Crawford got the silkiness, the slips and the dips and all that. But I knew the body attack, which you said as well, though, it's his commitment. Like when he had Rodriguez down, there was no walking in, I'll take my time. He just went straight in for the kill. I mean, he referenced afterwards, because of the Rodriguez's trainer had pushed his father at the media workout, that he was a bit more pumped up than usual. So really, Rodriguez's trainer didn't do his fighter any good, because his fighter got a beating for that. But his commitment, like you say, his basics, his balance, his technique, everything is just phenomenal.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, we spoke about Katie Taylor out at Madison Square Garden. I cannot not talk about this, Tom. I'm big Anthony Joshua's making his US debut against Andy Ruiz. Just give me your thoughts on that fight itself.
I don't think it's a bad fight. Andy Ruiz, despite the fact that aesthetically he doesn't look the part, right? So people tend to mock that if you don't look like the body beautiful. But and I'm not comparing, if Tony Bellew's watching, I'm not comparing Tony Bellew to Andy Ruiz in terms of physique. But if you look at David Haye and Tony Bellew, right, David Haye looks like the body beautiful, and we had it also with Jeff Lacey and Joe Colzaghi. Jeff Lacey was an Adonis, and Colzaghi slapped him sideways, so it doesn't really go for much. And he's skillful, Ruiz. He's good at closing the gap, getting inside, and I think he'll look to accentuate his lack of height to get in Joshua and work the body. Can he do it? I doubt it. I think Joshua's trainer, Robert McCracken, is brilliant tactically. He'll be able to have a look at the guy that's going to be in the ring with Joshua and say, right, do this, this and this. And I think they'll put a game plan together where Joshua doesn't lose a minute of the fight and knocks him out somewhere between the first round and the sixth round.
Take it the Ring Magazine Heavyweight Championship's only going to be contested by if Joshua faces Wilder.
Not necessarily, because, and I spoke to you the last time we spoke, I mentioned this, the fights that need to be made in order to get a ring championship, or the ones that we would prefer, aren't happening because everyone's with a different network, right? So it's things just aren't working out. Joshua has beaten, let me see, so he's beaten Klitschko, he's beaten Joseph Parker, Povetkin. Now, these guys were all top 5 at the time. Dillian Whyte, I don't think was in the top 5 then, but he's either there or thereabouts at the moment. So you need to start looking at it and saying, right, you know, if you, and I mentioned this, if he were to fight Dillian Whyte, I think that should open up to the panel, because unless I see some positive sign that the best guys, so your Joshua versus Wilder versus Fury versus White, are going to fight each other, then I think we need to start opening up to get the Ring Magazine Championship in circulation, and maybe that leads to the fights being made in the future, because sooner or later they're going to have to come together. I think fans are getting annoyed with it, media's getting annoyed with it, and it must be annoying the fighters, but there's just a lot of ego and stupidity that comes into it that we could do without.
Exactly. Well, there was a thing that you said that it's got to be 1 and 2 in the division, but there is ways that 1 and 3 can fight, 2 and 3 can fight, if it goes up to the panel.
Inoue and Rodriguez was number 1 and number 3, very, very close. Smith and Groves, Linares and Crawler. You know, these were number 1 versus number 3, and I think particularly at heavyweight, we don't, you know, it's better when it's like Taylor versus Prograis, when it's 1 and 2 and there's no debate and no backlash. But you know, we can open up when it's appropriate, and at heavyweight at the minute it could be more appropriate than it could be appropriate, definitely. Well,
Tom, so what's next for you then, mate? I'm not talking about today, but in boxing terms, what's next for you?
The next fight that I would be looking to cover is Josh Warrington against Kid Galahad, and I'll be speaking to those guys, and I've got some ideas for some stories, and I've got an exciting magazine project which I won't disclose yet, but that's in the offing as well.
Well, might be another interview in the cards with me.
It could be, mate. It could be.
Right, Tom, well, I won't keep you much longer, mate. The Ring Magazine looks absolutely nice. I might actually get a photo with that, do you know?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Go for it. Get a photo with
that and put it on my old Instagram. You know what? You know, I'm on the Instagram game now, so.
All for it, mate. No problem.
Right, Tom, as always, first interview got a lot of praise. I'm sure this one as well, because you're not quite, but you're very knowledgeable, especially when it comes to the Ring Magazine.
Thank you, sir.
So it's always a pleasure, and I enjoy interviewing you, and I'll catch up with you soon. Thank you very much, Tom. Mate. Thank you.